here's my review of What If Season 2, Episode 2. I thought that this was a massive improvement over Episode 1 because the premise here is actually very interesting, with this one being what if the Avengers assembled, like, in the 1980s to defeat a young Peter Quill. And that was just a really interesting concept. I mean, of course, in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we find out, like, who's Peter's dad is, his ego, and then he basically has these god powers. So in this one, we just see Peter return to Earth and just kind of wreck shop everywhere with his god ego powers, with his celestial powers. And it's really cool. And it's one of those things like, yeah, what would S.H.I.E.L.D. have done in that time? Because there were no Avengers, but they, like, innovate with who was around at the time. And it's just a lot of cool stuff. Like, we see, of course, like, I mean, not like super young, but still like younger Peggy Carter, and then of course Hank Pym, Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, T'Chaka, and then it's just a lot of cool stuff like that. And it's just got a lot of uniqueness, and it's really interesting because we get to see them kind of trying to stop Peter, and because he is just a kid, it's really cool. So it allows for this unique stuff as like, but he's just a kid with the powers of a god, and it's just really cool. And there's some really cool scenes like with T'Chaka, where there's like where kind of Peter goes to this like amusement park and they have to stop him, and it's just really cool. I mean, everyone I think gets a great chance to shine, and I love how, I mean, Thor is here, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, he is a god. He's like 1,500 years old, so of course he would be here at this time, and he looks the exact same. And I think I like how Chris Hemsworth's Thor in this one, he's a little bit more serious than he was in Love and Thunder, thankfully. And so that was just refreshing to see. And it's just a lot of fun. I thought that it just had a much more interesting concept. And I love seeing Bucky return. I mean, seeing the Winter Soldier was just awesome. And it's interesting because he was hearing like almost this Russian propaganda when he was like kidnapped and like forced to be in this whole Winter Soldier, like brainwashed. And he was about to assassinate Peter. And it's just a very, very cool. And it kind of like all ends up with, I mean, Ego eventually does, like, he kind of explains what happens, just like a recap of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And then he returns to Earth to try to, like, take over the world with his son. And there's just a lot of really cool stuff going on here. And how they basically end up stopping him is we have we have Hope, like Hank's son, kind of more, Janet, Hank's daughter, like more appealing to young Peter Quill. And there's just a lot to like here. I just thought it was awesome, and it was just cool to see how powerful he was, because like he does have godlike powers. And it was interesting because when Ego returned to Earth, he was like godlike, and the way they defeated him was, you know, like defeating that like seed thing that was in the Guardians 2. And I just thought that this episode just had a lot more going for it. It had awesome action, and I thought it was taken a little bit more seriously, especially with Bucky's character and as well as Thor's. And it just had a lot better action. I think the whole premise was something that sounds stupid, but it actually, now you think about it, it's like, that is pretty interesting premise and the way it was handled. And I just thought it was a massive improvement over episode 1. So yeah, I thought this was a pretty solid episode. I thought it was a lot better than episode 1. And it's just a lot of fun. I mean, got a great action still. It's not like anything like, I mean, like, this show I think definitely has a lot of potential. And I'm thinking like this episode shows a lot of what this show could have been and could be still. Because I mean, we're getting the season 2, and I'm pretty sure it's already been greenlit for season 3. So that's going to be cool. And I'm like, I think that this is one of the better episodes of like the whole show. I still think the very best episode of whether it's season 1 and 2 as so far was that Doctor Strange episode from season 1. But this was a very solid episode.